Today, I will be taking you with us on our first day's itinerary in Istanbul, and I'll also talk about some of our first impressions of the city. We started the day with breakfast at our hotel. I had a little trouble adjusting time-wise, but fortunately we were up and ready for the day when breakfast began. One thing we wanted to do in Turkey was to have a traditional Turkish breakfast spread, and so it was nice to have this included with the hotel. We don't typically eat a ton for breakfast, but travel and the time difference had us pretty hungry at this time. We also had a nice view, so this was a good way to start the morning. On this first morning out, at least at first, things seemed relatively quiet, but that could be because a lot of normal shops and things are closed on Sundays. We'd been wondering if Istanbul might feel a little more overwhelming, like some places we had been, but all in all, it really didn't feel overwhelming to us. There are still some sort of related things worth noting, which I'll get to later in this video and/or maybe others. Our first stop of the day was the Basilica Cistern. We chose to stay in Sultanahmet, which is basically the more historical heart of the city, and so it was only about a 10 to 15 minute walk to get here. The Basilica Cistern is quite old. Most sources seem to say it was built in the 500s, but some say even earlier. The cistern supplied water to people in Constantinople, aka Istanbul, for many years. It didn't open to the public until 1987, but before that, whoever did visit would go by boat, which sounds pretty cool. During the restoration in the 80s, they added platforms to make it easier and more convenient to visit. There have also been more recent renovations, which include adding more artwork and a light show and making it safer in case of earthquakes.
Kebab, 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 kebab.
You like it? The next stop was originally going to be the Hagia Sophia, but all these sites are really close to each other, so when we saw it had a line, we decided we would check how it looked later. There was a line for the Blue Mosque also, but it was much shorter. We probably waited less than 5 minutes. The Blue Mosque is currently under construction, so there is maybe less to see than when it isn't under construction, but what you can see looks nice. This mosque is from the Ottoman era, originally constructed in the early 17th century. Next was the Arasta Bazaar. I did plan for this to be next, but we actually ended up just running into it right on time anyway. Like I said, a lot of the main sites are pretty close to each other. I saw that on the map, but they felt even closer in real life, at least to us. What I read about the Arasta Bazaar was that it was like the Grand Bazaar, but smaller and more chill, which I guess was kind of true. We really just looked around for a little bit. Like the Blue Mosque, this bazaar has been around since the 1600s.
Lemon, vanilla, chocolate, blackberry, vanilla. Okay. This is Turkish plus.
We actually did basically plan this food stop in because, as you can see, getting Turkish ice cream is an experience. We typically share food initially we were going to, but this time we both got one, partly for the experience. We also decided this could help tide us over for the next activity. It is actually not just the show that is unique about Turkish ice cream. The actual ice cream can also have a unique texture due to different ingredients. The two flavors we got were vanilla and blackberry. They were good and quite different from one another. Originally, we were going to go to Topkapi Palace a different day, but the line in the Hagia Sophia still looked really long, so we decided we would do Topkapi Palace now instead. Really, one of the most surprising things about Turkey, and really maybe it shouldn't be, was how many tourists and tour groups in particular there were. For the tour groups, there were more than maybe we've seen anywhere, so it must look crazy in the summer. It could be because when we've traveled to other popular destinations, it's usually been an off-season. Of course, this was also not peak season. This was also a weekend this day, and also a number of things are just recently open again. It also makes sense when you think about the central location, the history, etc. Now, while the Hagia Sophia clearly had a line, we soon realized that Topkapi Palace had multiple lines. First, we just saw the initial line, which looked reasonable enough. Once in, we learned that that was just a line for security. We would need to wander further and then get in another line to get tickets. I'm just sharing for others. It wasn't too bad all in all. The ticket we got included an audio guide to help us learn more about what we were seeing and gave us an entrance to the harem. We were only able to get one audio guide because we left my license at the hotel. They wanted to hold on to that in exchange, I guess, but we were able to take turns with it. The palace was huge. I think we could have probably spent nearly a whole day there, especially when you add on the harem. So what is this place? Topkapi Palace was an administrative and educational center of the Ottoman Empire for some time and was also where the Sultan lived. The harem was basically the living area for the sultans and where various people related to or serving the sultan lived. You can see where those individuals bathed and learned and so on. Even if you don't visit the harem, there's a ton to see in the palace in general. We spent a few hours there and saw a lot of it, but you definitely could have taken it slower. One area we actually missed out on was the building holding sacred relics. There was a pretty long line to this area and we just didn't fill up to it, hoping it would lessen in our time there. Spoiler, it did not. If we had known what was inside, we might have waited, as I have since learned that some of the relics present included Muhammad's mantle and footprints, Abraham's pot, Joseph's turban, Moses' staff, David's sword, and scrolls belonging to John the Baptist. That would explain the line. Usually I would know things like this in advance, but this trip was not planned very far in advance, so I really only had time to put together itineraries and figure out accommodation, transport, etc., not get these kinds of details of each place we would see.
Duymuyor musun? Ben seni duyuyorum.
For lunch, we shared a vegetarian mixed appetizer / meze plate, which was good and filled us up. Next, we were thinking we would go to the Grand Bazaar. It turned out it was closed. Generally, I check for things like this in advance, but this was not originally on this day's itinerary. While wandering, we found another mosque to check out, and we got a box of Turkish delights. We were a little worried we wouldn't have space to put in our bags since we were carry-on only, but fortunately we did. Next up, we head to the Suleymaniye Mosque, which is an Ottoman imperial mosque. One great thing about mosques is they have bathrooms for anyone to use. This is helpful for someone like me, and really just a good thing to have. This mosque was commissioned by Suleiman the Magnificent in the mid-1500s and was the largest mosque in the city for over 400 years. Within the mosque, you can find the tombs of multiple sultans, including Suleiman the Magnificent. There is also a mausoleum for his wife. Kyle was feeling hungry again, so we chose a place near the mosque to eat. He got a kebab, and I tried a dessert item I wanted to try in Turkey. I wasn't super hungry though, so Kyle told me he would help with half, and he did. Now the sun was setting, and we happened to be in a good spot to watch the sunset, so we hung around for a little. You may know Istanbul as a city of 7 hills. I think it actually has more hills than that, but the Suleymaniye Mosque is located on what is known as the 3rd hill of Istanbul. All in all, nice way to end the day. We did learn more about some of the sites we visited, but there's only so much video to talk over. Although I will say there is less info on some things than I might like, but all good. Some of that info just isn't known, I guess. From here, we had about a 20-minute walk back to our hotel. It was obviously getting dark and we were pretty tired, so basically ready to shower and get ready for bed.